This is what the Bible describes the earth to be, the Hebrew cosmology. This is what we just read in Genesis.
Okay, so when it says the space in between, that's in between the waters.
Sky. Yeah, that's the sky. That's the Hashamayim.
Okay, now when you see the waters above and the waters below, is that one body of water?
No, this is the waters above.
Yeah.
And the waters below, the great deep, the abyss.
Okay, so the waters above and the waters below, that's one body of water, right?
Yes, you can imagine it like the earth is neutrally buoyant. Remember, all this was just water. So when God placed the firmament in, it created what we would now call the sky, the atmosphere, and that what separate the water. And I mean, we still have oceans today. We still have receding waters, got rivers and canals and everything, because it's still part of that same water system. It's just now separated.
If it's separating the waters above from the waters below, that picture that you've got there shows the waters above and the waters below being one body of water.
Yeah, the thing is, that is water. Are you saying that there's not water above the firmament?
No, it says there, waters above the firmament.
Yes, above the firmament.
And they follow all the way down the side, and they join up to the bit at the bottom.
Yes, a submarine is submerged in the ocean.
Is the submarine like the firmament in this case?
Yes.
Okay, so the water inside the submarine that they're drinking, that's the separation.
It's separate, yes.
Okay.
And that's why when it says the earth hang upon nothing, that's exactly what it's saying, because it's not hanging on anything. It's just neutrally buoyant. It's sitting with the pillars of the earth inside the water.
But see, in that picture there, it looks like you've got a separation from the waters that are above. Do you imagine that God made a little bubble inside the waters?
Yeah, the firmament. It's a physical dome, a physical vault.
How much waters do you reckon there is outside?
I have no idea.
But you know that they were separated by this.
Yeah, just like we read in the second day, where God separated the waters from above from the waters below by using the firmament, yes.
But that's not separating the waters above from the waters below. That's separating the waters.
Otherwise, we'd be drowning here right now.
No, otherwise has we'd be one body of water that goes all the way around the firmament, doesn't it?
Yes, but the water that goes all the way around is not the waters inside Earth system, is it?
So the firmament goes below as well as above.
The firmament reaches what they would call the foundations, or the pillars, the foundations of the earth. That's where the firmament reaches. You see on the side here, you can see that. So the firmament reaches what you call the foundations, and that plane separates us from the waters.
But the water is inside. It separated the water that's inside from the water that's outside.
Okay. Let me explain another way. You take a water bottle. Okay. It's nothing in it, and you take the water bottle and scoop up a bit of in the swimming pool, and you close it off now, and you throw that water bottle in the pool. Now it's buoyant. It's neutrally buoyant that it sinks, but it's not. It's staying just in underneath the water, but there's still air and water inside that bottle. You would agree that that water bottle has now separated the water in the bottle from the water outside the bottle.
Yes, but both the water inside the bottle and the water outside the bottle has a level, right? But you've not got that. Your water's above these waters.
Has it?
There's a level to the water inside.
Yeah, on Earth, yes. There's a level toward there.
But not outside of the firmament.
No, because it's submerged. The whole Earth is submerged in that waters above.
Okay. So that waters that's inside is different than the land that's inside the earth, like you said. The Earth is the terra, the land,
Yeah.
right? So that would mean that the Earth, the terra, the land is the bit that's not flat.
This is a plane. The whole Earth is a plane itself. Remember we live in a three-dimensional reality. A plane is just a two-dimensional geometrical term.
Doesn't exist in reality.
Just like if you have a pancake in real life is actually three-dimensional.
Yes,
but a pancake is
everything in
considered
reality
flat.
is 3D.
It's still described geometrically as a flat plane.
That's an oxymoron.
Is a plane in reality 2 or 3 dimensions?
There's no such thing as a plane in reality. It's 2D.
Yes,
We've just agreed that everything in reality is 3D.
Is this piece of paper a plane?
No, it's a piece of paper.
Does it describe a plane?
No,
Geometrically, it describes a plane, does it
it
not?
does not. No,
It's a surface area.
it's not. It's
Has
a
this,
piece
pla-
of paper.
has this paper got a surface area? The answer is yes.
And what is that surface area?
Breadth and width.
Times 2
Okay, so that's a
and the
two-dimensional.
thickness. Are you going to add
Okay,
the thickness?
Bev, you're gonna have to understand. So it's describing a plane. It's just in 3 dimensions. It's describing it. Remember, when you go to the geometry, it just discards 1 dimension. That's why it's 2-dimensional. We don't live in a 2-dimensional geometry. We live in 3-dimensional reality. Just like this paper describes a plane in reality.
It doesn't, flat side.
It's 3-dimensional
You think it
in
does?
reality, but it's
But it doesn't.
described as a plane because it only takes its
No,
geometric
that's
format
described
into
as a
shape,
piece of paper. Flat side.
which is a plane in
It's
reality.
not.
Yes, it is.
A plane is length,
Okay.
height, breadth.
Okay. Is a
2
sphere
dimensions.
is a sphere's surface 2 or 3 dimensional?
A sphere is a 3-dimensional solid object, as described in Book 11.
And the sphere surface is it in geometry described 2-dimensionally or 3-dimensionally?
It doesn't get described.
It does. It's described 2-dimensionally because it ignores a dimension.
It's in
So the same way,
in solid
the same-
geometry, flat
the
side.
sa-
Book
so that's-
11.
what I'm trying to explain to you is we don't live in geometry, Bev. Geometry is just there
Why
to
do you want
try
to
and
make it in a
explain.
plane then?
Geometry is just there to try and explain a shape in a mathematical way. So when we live in a 3-dimensional reality, we live on a plane. The Earth is considered a plane, just like a pancake is considered a flat pancake. It's considered a plane. It's not really a plane. It's not really perfectly flat. Earth in itself cannot be a plane geometrically because there are mountains, there are valleys. We live in a
So it's
3-dimensional
not
reality. The consideration is a plane.
It's not
So
a plane.
the shape overall is a plane, Bev.
What shape is a plane, flat side?
A horizontal or vertical. It's just a line.
Make your mind up. What shape is a plane? And
There,
don't
this is
say
a plane.
line.
This is a plane.
It's not. That's a piece of paper.
In 3 dimensions, it's a plane. Is this plane physical? Is this
That's
paper
a piece
physical?
of paper.
Okay. Now, is a plane in geometry physical?
Plane in geometry is 2D. Nothing.
It's not physical.
Nothing
So it's not
in
physical.
reality is
Right.
2D.
So can we use a plane to describe reality? Now, again, Earth is described as a plane
by
because
you?
of its configuration. It's an
By
aspect.
you?
It's an no, not by me. I didn't make this diagram. Did I make this diagram?
Look, I don't describe Earth as a plane like you suggest. So you suggest people describe it as a plane. I'm saying you
Okay.
can't describe Earth as a plane because
Okay,
a
then.
plane is 2D and nothing in reality is 2D. So how
Okay.
do you describe reality as being 2D? It doesn't make sense.
Is the foundation of your house, the floor, a plane?
The foundation of my house is not the floor.
Is your foundation of your house or the floor of your house, is it a plane? Is it a plane condition?
Foundations are underneath the brickwork of the walls, Flatsoid.
Your floor, let's say your kitchen floor, would that be considered describing it geometrically as a plane? No. What did you describe it as?
The floor. People know what they mean when you say the floor.
Is your kitchen floor curved?
There could be some curves on it somewhere, I would imagine, yeah.
You have a curved kitchen floor.
Yeah, there's bits that are curved, yeah.
You might need to get a new person to actually make your kitchen over if you've got curved floors, man. So planar surveying. What geometry does planar surveying deal with? Do they use plane considerations or do they use spherical considerations in planar geometry?
It's mainly just straight line, isn't it?
So it's planar.
What's planar?
Planar surveying is plane geometry, correct?
But the level is a tool for establishing a horizontal plane of reference.
Great. And that plane of reference is now based in a three-dimensional reality, correct?
It is in reality, yes.
Great. So hence we measure a plane.
No, you don't measure the plane. You establish the level is a tool that establishes a horizontal plane of reference. It's like, why do you want to call the Earth a plane?
Because that's what it's described as.
It's just a description, right? We know it's not, because you've just described that geometry and reality are separate. So you're just using words to describe something that you know it's not.
Okay, what's the condition of the plane of Earth? What if I said Earth is a pancake? What's the condition of me claiming Earth is a pancake? Would that mean the Earth is curved or flat?
Here's something I told McToon earlier this morning. When you're using Earth, are you talking about the land, Terra?
Again, I asked you a question. So if I describe Earth as a pancake, am I describing Earth as a plane or as a curve?
Are you talking about Earth as in the thing that you've just described?
Earth,
in
literally
Genesis,
on screen, Earth.
The land.
The condition overall is a plane.
Okay, with mountains. Right now,
remember, we live in a three-dimensional reality.
Is that separate from the water?
Earth and water are two different things, obviously.
Okay, right. So, the water surface you had earlier as a face, which is a geometric term for a two-dimensional surface, a face. Right now, that's the water. The Earth is not the water. It's separated from the waters.
Yes, obviously.
Right. So it's not a plane. The Earth part, Flatsoid.
The Earth is considered a plane
by you.
Because it doesn't curve. When you use surveying, planar surveying, and you set that horizontal, that plane, you would understand that plane is set in a three-dimensional reality.
Yeah, but it's not the Earth, right? It's usually above the Earth.
Yeah, exactly. That's my whole point. It is taking a plane reference in a three-dimensional reality. Remember, we don't live in geometry. Now, when we're explaining our three-dimensional reality in a geometric sense, we explain it as a plane.
Don't say it's 2D.
We explain it as a plane
those of us that live in reality don't explain
because
the Earth
because
as
its
being
condition
2D.
Because its condition would be represent a plane. So the Earth would be this whole piece of paper, which is a plane, but it has mountains and valleys on this plane. It's part of the plane. You understand that?
On the plane, are you saying?
Just
Now.
that's why I explained it earlier. When you take a sphere and you just have the surface of a sphere geometrically is only taking two dimensions into consideration. It's ignoring a third dimension. We all know physically a sphere is three-dimensional, but the surface area of a sphere, just like a plane, takes one dimension, ignores it, because the surface area is simply working out this block. That's what the surface area is working out. It's just
the two-dimensional surface of a sphere. Is that what you're advocating?
So this
for
is
now,
a surface area. This face of this paper is just surface area.
The two-dimensional surface of a sphere. Is that what we're advocating for now?
That's what a surface of sphere is.
And you say the Earth is plane, which is 2D. So you want to advocate for a two-dimensional surface of a sphere, so then you can call the Earth 2D, and everybody's happy, right?
No, that's not what I'm saying. I don't know how am I going to try and get this through to you.
Well, let me just make my position very clear, right? I say that since the Earth, the land, is in reality, and we know that everything in reality is 3D, then there is a literal impossibility that the Earth can be a plane. Do you understand that? Where the way I've just constructed that impossibility that you can get rid of a dimension that exists in reality.
Yeah, it's just ignoring a dimension, like I said.
But why are you ignoring a dimension that exists in reality to describe reality?
What is the condition of this table? The overall condition. What kind of geometry would you use to explain this table?
Just use descriptor words. A table is a very good descriptor for what we see there.
And is a table considered a plane geometric shape?
No.
Yes.
By you, maybe, but
not by me. By geometry. By geometry.
No, I don't.
Is that table
a plane geometric shape?
Is that tabletop horizontal? Yes. Is that tabletop flat?
It looks it. Yeah.
Does it have a surface area?
I would imagine if you knew the dimensions, you could work out the area.
And does that tabletop represent a plane?
It doesn't represent a plane, no.
Yes, it does.
No, it doesn't. Because a plane is a two-dimensional.
Just ignoring it. Sorry,
exists in reality.
Bev, now I'm going to call you dishonest.
That everything in reality is 3D.
I'm going to start calling you dishonest because now you're just literally being totally obtuse on purpose, man.
Seems like you want to conflate geometry and reality.
No, I'm not. You trying to tell me that the Earth cannot be considered a plane because a plane in geometry is only two-dimensional and we live in three-dimensional space. Yes, but we use considerations based on geometry to describe three-dimensional reality. Hence, this table is considered a two-dimensional plane in three-dimensional reality because of its surface area. Because the surface area described on this tabletop doesn't curve, therefore this is a planar shape.
A table is not a planar shape. Planar shapes are things like circles, triangles, squares, hexagons. They are planar shapes. A table does not exist within geometry as a planar shape.
I'll do it for Bev. Yes, the surface of a table is considered a planar shape.
You didn't say that. You said a table is a planar shape.
I said the table is described as a planar shape, and I was specifically talking about the surface of the table.
Ask Google that. Is a table considered a planar shape?
Yes, I literally read it. Look, the surface of the table is considered a planar shape,
surface,
which is a two-dimensional 2D shape. Planar shapes are flat and have only 2 dimensions, length and width, without any thickness or depth. The surface of a table being flat and having these 2 dimensions fits the definition.
That says surface.
Yes.
Right, so it added surface into
the
your
table-
question.
Is
didn't
the
it?
table, no, my question is the table itself in reality 3-dimensional or 2-dimensional?
A table is 3-dimensional. 'cause
So
it
if I take
exists
the
in
tabletop,
reality.
so if I take the tabletop and I gouge a hole into the tabletop, will that have another depth? Will it have some depth to it?
We're talking about the table. Why
Yes,
do you
the
keep
tabletop.
distracting?
Now remember, the tabletop is described as a planar shape. Now if I have to take that tabletop and I have to drill a hole into that tabletop, will it now have depth in that tabletop?
The table, Flatsoid.
So the tabletop will still be considered planar in its fullness because it's considered in its fullness a plane shape. The fact is, in reality, it's not 2-dimensional, it's 3-dimensional, so it's just described planarly, just like the earth is described as a plane, but there are mountains and valleys and hills and tunnels and caves and trees and whatever you plane. It doesn't mean it's not considered as a plane as a whole. Why?
Listen, Flatsoid.
Because the only thing that you are taking is considering that it's a plane consideration. We do not live on a curved spherical earth. We live on a planar earth. Get it? Just like a pancake would be considered a plane, but in reality a pancake has depth. So therefore a pancake in reality is not geometrically a plane, but it's considered 2-dimensionally a plane because it's only taking surface area into account. It is describing it as horizontal. It's describing it as flat. Now, does that mean pancakes don't have bumps and lumps on them? Heck, they do. The consideration is that a pancake is planar.
Okay, let me say again. I do not consider the earth or a table a planar shape.
Well, that's your problem.
That's not. I'm just telling you that. Like,
Yeah, that's
are
what
you,
I said.
are you
That's your
trying to
problem.
dictate that we have to take on your considerations?
That's not my consideration. That's just how reality is, Bev.
I'm just telling you. I don't consider the earth as a plane.
Then that's your problem. Remember, this
Not
is
a
about the
problem for
Bible
me,
and how
Tim.
the Bible describes
Not a problem
it.
for me, Flatsoid. That's what I'm trying to tell you. There's a load of people out there that don't consider the earth as a plane, and
That's their
it's not
problem.
a problem for
That's
them.
Sir Humphreys, Lucas, thank him for that.